Yes, stakeholders. Yes, don't be mistaken between the two. We have what we call the shareholders and we have what we call stakeholders. We said the shareholders, these are people who have actually contributed risk capital in the organization. So therefore, these shareholders are the owners of that particular organization. But when you talk about the stakeholders, besides shareholders in an organization, we have also other people with the interest in that particular organization. For example, the employees. We have also the suppliers. We have the customers. We have the government. We have the general public. These all people have interest in that particular organization. And therefore, when you talk about stakeholders, we are referring to a group of people. These are actually a group of people who are affected by decisions and activities of the company. Besides the shareholders, we have also other people who are not categorized under that particular area. But today we want to see the stakeholders. Who are these? Therefore, it means that it's a wider term that try to bring in other people who have interest in the organization other than the shareholders. For that matter. Therefore, we want now to say, yes, who are these? Now we can categorize into three. So there are three types of stakeholders. The first group of stakeholder is what we call internal stakeholder group. When you talk about internal stakeholder group, we are referring to the group of stakeholders who work for the company, or you can say workers of the company. This now will include employees, for that matter, and managers. Although managers are the employees of the organization, but this one refers to high level of management. So these two are employees of the organization. Therefore, they have a stake in that particular organization. And therefore, it falls under internal stakeholder group. The second group is what they call connected stakeholder group. Connected stakeholder group, this is another group of stakeholders who have contracts with the company. Those people that we have signed contract with are the ones that have also interest in that particular organization. They are called connected stakeholders. And therefore, these people will include the shareholders now. So shareholders now belong to this group. We have also the customers, or your clients. We have also suppliers, for that matter, who are the suppliers of goods and services. We can also have the debt holders. This one you can also you can call them banks or any other financial institution. These are the people that we have contract with, and they are actually having a stake in that particular organization. The third group, which is the final group, is what we call external stakeholder group. This external stakeholder group, they don't work in the organization. They don't have any contract with us, but they have interest in the organization. This is now the group of stakeholders that have what? Interests in the company. And therefore, these parties that have interest in the organization, but we don't have contract with them and they don't work for us in that particular organization, one of them is the government. It can either be national government or a county government. The second one is the general public. General public. General public. General public. We can also have regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies, these are bodies that try to direct professionals. E.g., we can talk about e.g. Let me start with mine, ISIPAC. ISIPAC. We have also that for the doctors, we call KMPDU. We have that of nurses. We have that of engineers. And so on, etc. So these are people, they don't have contract with us as a company, but they have interest in that particular organization. On this note, then what is really their objective? So we can now say objectives of stakeholders. Once we have identified them like this, we want now to identify specific examples of these stakeholders. Then we give out specific objectives. For example, you can identify shareholders or equity shareholders. Ordinary, you can call them equity shareholders. This is specific now. It falls under connected. Now, this specific one here, they provide what? They provide risk capital. They provide risk capital to the organization. What is their main objective then? The main objective is to maximize wealth. That is their main objective. The second group is what we call trade payables. When you talk about trade payables, you can also refer to creditors. Some people might also refer as suppliers. So who are these? These are people who provide goods and services on credit. Then, if that is the case, what is their main objective here? Their main objective is to receive full payments. From their goods and services they apply on credit. Number three is what they call long-term payables. Long-term payables, we can also call them debt holders. Debt holders, these are the providers of loans or long debts in the organization in the form of debentures, in the form of bills, government bills. So these are the people that provide loans to the organization for a longer period of time. So we are saying they provide loans to the organization. What are their main objectives? Their main objective here is to receive interest. Loan interest is to receive loan interest and principal loan. That is their main objective. Number four is employees. Employees, these are workers in the organization. So their main objective here is there are two main objectives. One is to maximize maximize pay rewards, e.g. salaries, allowances, a retirement packages, Also, their main objective also in that organization is job security. The fifth one is what we call government. Government is classified under external, but it is very important. Government here, they provide what? Regulations. Okay? They provide policies. They also provide some grants to some of the organizations. And what is the main objective? The main objective now here is to ensure that there is enough taxes collected and there is total employment. That is the main objective of the organization here, of the government, is to ensure that they collect tax from the company and they ensure that there is employment in the organization. Now, besides this, we can now say, yes, these stakeholders here, once they are working, because they were working and some have interest, some have contracts, they will bring what we call conflicts. And therefore, it leads us to the subtopic called agency relationship. Agency relationship. Agency relationship. It leads now, because these people have interest in the organization, some are workers, some have contracts, then there will be no way that conflicts will be not available. They will be there. For that reason, now let's discuss about the agency. Agency relationship. And once we have known that, we have to note then that there will be conflicts. Beside conflicts, we need to find solutions. First and foremost, let me give out the meaning of the word agency. Agency relationship is the relationship, this is purely relationship, agency relationship is the relationship between agent and principal. And now when you talk about the agent here, we are talking about a person or an individual who is undertaking delegated responsibilities. So an agent is a person who undertaking delegated responsibilities on behalf of principal. And therefore, principal in this case can be described slightly to mean the owner. Okay, slightly to mean the owner. Or we can also say is the person controller. We can also say is a controller. It is instead of him or her working for that particular area, is delegating the responsibilities to another person. You now call here agent. And because of these delegated responsibilities, it will automatically lead to conflicts. And therefore, let's first of all identify the type of agency relationship. Then we will identify the conflicts inside there. Then we also find the solution to that problem. For example, now here we can have number one, shareholders and management. shareholders and management. When we talk about shareholders and management, first we have to identify who is the agent and who is the principal in this case. Now, the shareholders, we have said these are the contributors of risk capital. And the managers, these are the undertakers of the delegated responsibilities. Therefore, it means that this one here is a principal. In the sense that he has delegated the management of the organization to these managers here. Now, these managers are called what? Agents. Okay? So, managers are working on behalf of the shareholders, who are the risk contributors. We are the risk capital contributors for that matter. Now, on this particular note, we have also the conflict that may arise. What are the conflicts here? Yes, the shareholders have entrusted the management to carry on delegated responsibilities. But it can reach a point where the managers have underperformed, or the managers have pursued their interests and forget the interest of the principal. Those two conflicts that are coming there will automatically bring what they call disagreements. What are these conflicts here? Conflict number one, these managers might perform ineffectively. So working effectively. So there is no high performance from the managers. For that matter, it means that there will be a conflict. Number two, another conflict here is that there will be high rewards. Managers may decide to reward themselves highly in terms of pensions, in terms of salaries, in terms of allowances. When now this particular principal will hear about that, automatically there will be a conflict. Therefore, there will be a conflict on that matter. Another one is what they call investment. It is investments here. When you invest, you are expecting some returns. And therefore, principals may prefer to invest in some risky projects to generate high returns, while the managers will decide to invest in low-risk projects to generate less returns. So because of that risk profile, it automatically leads to conflict. Another one is what they call employment. Another conflict. Because there are a few opportunities in the organization that would lead to employment, principals will want to their dependents or friends to be employed. Also, the agents will have their dependents or friends to be employed. So because the opportunities are very few there, automatically there will be a conflict. On this note, we now ask, what are the solutions then? What are the solutions? Number one, introduce what they call contract-based employment. Contract-based employment, meaning that these managers here would be required to be signing annual employment and contracts, so that whoever feels that wants to leave the organization has an opportunity to leave, so that the rest will be able to perform what? Effectively. Two, introduce what they call share ownership plan. Share ownership plan means that the managers of this particular organization may also be able to buy some shares from that organization. And because they have shares in organization, they will be able to work effectively. Number three, the shareholders may introduce what they call threat of firing. So the principals may introduce the threat of firing. And then finally, corporate responsibility. Now, in this case, we are now saying the principal should also take up the management of the organization. There will be a shared or a collective responsibility in the organization, so that each and everyone will be seen working. And maybe the last one is introducing what they call agency cost. Agency cost here, these are costs incurred by the principal because they are not there for the third party to come and manage on their behalf. In this case, it means that the shareholders may bring in the auditors. The second one is what we call, the second one is shareholders, managers, and long-term providers, long-term creditors. Shareholders, managers, and long-term creditors. Long-term creditors are debt holders. Therefore, this is also one of the agency relationship. In this case now, we are going to treat it this way. This and this, they are in the organization already. This is the third party. This third party is the one, for example, the money contributed by shareholders being managed by the manager is not enough. What will happen? These two people will sit down and decide and say, let's go and seek for financial institution support. And they will go to the banks. The banks will provide that money. So this money provided by the bank will be controlled by the bank. Therefore, it means that the bank becomes principal. And these two are the agents. What are the conflicts then? Identify the conflicts here. Conflict number one. They have gotten money from the financial institution. Now, in this case, they are investing. They might invest in risky projects. Risky projects. These shareholders and managers may decide to invest in risky projects with an intention of earning higher returns. But these debt holders will say, no. It will mean that if they invest, what if, or on their way, you end up not getting returns, but you get a loss. So they would have lost their income. So that is when the conflict comes in. Two is what they call delay. Delay payment. Delayed payment of what? Interest to these people. If the payment is delayed, these people get annoyed. The third one is what they call extra dividends. Extra dividends. In this case, it means that the shareholders are paying themselves high dividends, which will lead to a threat to long-term providers, loan providers, because you are paying too much, which means whatever that is left is too little for them. Fourth one is what we call sale of assets. The assets here we are referring are either fixed assets, mainly fixed assets. These assets have been used as securities to secure this particular loan. If you try to sell, it means that this particular loan will lose what? Security, for that matter. Then we have what we call inadequate disclosure in the financial statements. Shareholders and managers may decide to hide some of the transactions in the financial statements to show or remove or add some of the transactions to attract these particular people here. So there will be inadequate disclosure of this particular area. Then what is the solution then? Solution number one is very simple. Restrict risky projects. So enter into a contract that is restricting investment into what? Risky projects. 2, end up into a contract covenant on debt of payment. Seal that. Once you seal that, enter into a covenant of no covenant on assets in the organization. To seal, to ensure there is no any disposal of the asset in that particular organization. So we go to the third one. The third agency relationship is between the shareholder and the government. Shareholder and the government. So we have the shareholders, managers, and the government. Now, in this case, first you have to identify the agent and the principal. Now, when you look at these three here, you'll find that this one here is controlling all this. Why? It is the government that makes laws or regulations. And those regulations will actually affect the shareholders and the managers of that particular organization. Therefore, it means that the government is the principal. And these two are the agents. So government will make some laws or regulations. For example, regulations relating to employment. In this case, you can say maybe 5% of the employment should be set aside for people living with disabilities. So the government, with that particular law, wants the company to ensure that they implement it as it is. Now, in this case, there will be conflicts here. Conflicts. Conflict number one is tax evasion. Yes, the shareholders and managers may be evading some tax. Correct? Number two is violation of regulations. Violation of regulations. Regulations have been passed by the government, and these regulations have to be implemented by the shareholders and the managers. Now, for example, the case of 5% for people living with disabilities, or 5% for women, or less gender in that particular matter. These people will be violating that particular case. So in this case now, these conflicts here will be very, very, very dangerous. In this case now will be control or carrying on business that irregular business, no, not regular, but a business with the illegal business. So the shareholders and managers had a particular agenda or the type of business they were to carry on. But unfortunately, they have changed the business in between. So they are undertaking a different activity, which is which contradicts the regulations that was offered before. So therefore, it will bring a conflict. What are the solutions to this matter? Solution number one is offer incentives. Offer incentives. So the government has to offer incentives to encourage the shareholders and managers so that they continue paying what? Tax. Two is to ensure, the government should ensure that each and every business is registered. Registration. If the government ensures that each and every business is registered, it means then that all businesses will be working within the responsibility or the power. So there will be no illegal responsibility. Now, let me mention some of the areas here. What are the government interests in this case? Government interests. Government interests. Now, the government is very interested on some areas. One, taxation policy. Taxation. In this case here, there will be taxation, tax on sales, tax on profits, and tax on dividends. Dividends and what? Interests. So when the government passes the law will capture on this one. When we talk about sales here, we are talking about the VAT, custom duty, all that. So the government will pass a law on taxation policy that will seal this. Another area that interest the government will come in is what we call encouraging new investments. encouraging new investments. The only way the government can encourage new investment is to provide what? Incentives. Failure to do that, the government will not be able to do that. The second one is regulations. Regulation is here, we're talking about the laws. And the laws regarding this should be favorable to the business. The fourth one is what they call economic policy. Now, economic policy here, we are referring to those policies relating to the economy of a country, especially, for example, the case of interest rates, exchange rates. Let's talk about exchange interest rates. So, when the government comes up with economic policy, this economic policy will automatically affect the company of the organization, a company or an organization, because we have importers. Okay? And we have what? Exporters. So these two people will be affected based on the exchange rate the government will come in. So it is upon the government to ensure that the exchange rates are correct and the exchange rates are favorable for the businesses in an organization. Therefore, that one marks the end of today's lesson. And next lesson, we shall be discussing about measuring the achievement of corporate objectives, and specifically financial performance. And under that financial performance, we shall be discussing about ratio analysis. I strongly believe that you have enjoyed this particular lesson. Welcome, share this particular video, welcome your friends, let them like, let them subscribe, and let them ask as many questions as possible. I'll be also sharing some, once I'm through this topic, I will share questions. And those questions, I will be marking them. You share with me and I will be marking them. On the same note, this topic is covering ACCA and CPA students. So welcome to this class and God bless you.